Oh, yeah. Big booty, big booty, big booty. Part number 2 of this daily as we explore LiquidHero's attacking-oriented PvZ style. So fun to watch and kind of stealable. I don't feel like I have to be a mad brain toss genius to solve this sort of issue. I can probably just execute it. Wow, it makes me want to do it. Let's watch the next segment of the mid-game, because I think that regardless of where the game goes, Hero's in a great position. He's in a really, really nice spot. And I think this is an understandable spot for the Zerg to be in. I think Zerg has just done an incredible freaking job hanging in there. And this is increasingly becoming a common transition because Mutalisks are so good in this game. Seriously, Mutalisks are terrifying, man. Oh god, it's so scary. I'll also note that there's quite literally just a single Colossus. All the rest of everything is predicated upon basic gateway unit defense, sentries being PvZ. More gate. Oh yeah, there's the 2 gateways being added on. I was like, where are the gateways being added on? And then I found them because I was looking at them. Really exceptional Zerg play. Just double expanding right off the bat, really identifying what the weakness is in this play. So, getting just the single Colossus permits Hero to then instantly go into the Immortal production. Instantly throw down the Twilight Council. We see these Phoenixes advancing forward aggressively. Mutalisks are really damn good, but kind of similar to how in Protoss vs. Protoss, players really battle for air control, and then whoever gets the air control just goes mad, crazy Phoenix, Void Ray sort of things. In this circumstance, Zerg is doing the same thing. He's battling hard for air control. The only way he can really lose these expansions is if he loses track of what's coming at him. So that's why we see the Corruptors coming out in massive numbers. Finally rounding out all the rest of these upgrades. Still no Colossus play. Still Colossus range. In this position, if I'm Hero, I'm poignantly aware of how possible Mutalisks are at any point in time. So this is certainly why Blink is coming down promptly. I mean, there's really no messing around here with the Blink. Even if his opponent... actually, like, if you watch Rain play, Rain really likes to get Zealot leg speed. Like, really, really, really likes getting himself up to Zealot leg speed. And getting, like, a sort of Charge Lot, Archon, and Colossus mixture. And that's great if you see Hydras. If you see Hydras, you know your opponent does not quite have enough gas to get the Mutalisks. And because the Hydras are not as beefy and meaty as Roaches, you kind of need to be a little bit more defense aware as a Zerg player. So I think transitioning to Charge there is fine against Hydras. But against Roaches, Roaches are so cheap that it's very easy for a player to flood Corruptors in this circumstance. And then for a buttload of Corruptors to walk in here, kill your Colossus off. You have like Charge Lot almost and not quite Archons. It's just bad. It's just a big bad butt to be in. I don't know why I said that, but I like the alliteration. So here's the sort of situation that Hero finds himself in. He's like, wow, man, there's a lot of stuff coming at here. Very easy, I think, to over Robo Bay. To get like tons of Colossus here, but then you just get instantly boned by these Corruptors. Again, the Zerg is playing like as well as like any Zerg could in this position. I think this Zerg is sensational. So I think this is very intelligent to be favoring gateways, to go 1 Colossus and instantly 2 gate, and then be like, all right, well, let me get the Immortal up. That gives me some protection in the air, because this obviously can't be hit from Corruptors. And then yet more gateways. Where are these other 2 going? Oh, I see. They've just begun warping in. I think just really, really brilliant transitioning there by Hero. And you'll note that he's only just now starting up his next Colossus. I don't know what the hell that thing's doing there, but that is just a bad, bad spot for the sentry to be up in. I think another sensible maneuver we see that the Corruptors here. Our Phoenixes are not really going to have a particularly large amount of utility in this context. Therefore, these Phoenixes that are moving up here are doing two things. Killing shit and checking for the Hive. Yeah. Hive's an important one to note because if a Hive is coming, we have an attack timing available. If there's no Hive yet, we're a little more content to hang back. I would be surprised if there was a Hive, because if there's a Hive and a guy's going for the 4th base, oh dude, he's asking to get killed. He's about to get killed right in the face. To get facial-owned. Yeah, look at him killing off everything. How much faster are Phoenixes? Let's see, 4.25 move speed? That's really fast. That's faster than an Oracle. I guess I knew that, because I've seen Phoenixes just kill Oracles like nothing. Yeah, so the Corruptors can't do much. This expand, again, makes a lot of sense to me because we didn't see a Hive, so there's not exactly an attack timing, but more importantly, I think there's no need to attack. There's been so much attacking from Hero up to this point, but I mean, no reason to attack just for the sake of attacking. Now finally a transition into the Zealot leg makes sense. We want to be able to go toe-to-toe with a lot of the scariness that can be hurled at us late game. Force fields get knocked down. Knocked down by the Ultras. Yeah, Warp Prism speed. Oh yeah. This moment right here is literally the rain transition. You know, literally, in modern vernacular, is a way to say very. Basically, right? Right? Instead of saying, this sandwich is incredibly good, you say, this sandwich is literally the best thing I've ever heard in my life. Literally. I haven't even eaten it. I've only heard the sandwich. It's the best thing I've ever heard. Literally. I could have said this is the rain build, but this is literally the rain build. My mind was like, it was like fucking blown into pieces because of the fact that this is what Rain does in some of his games. I mean, this is literally Day 9 Daily number 579. As many of you have heard me discuss, I don't get why people get super sticklery about using literally figuratively. You know, like, be like, gosh, like literally 1,000,000 degrees outside. It is not literally 1,000,000 degrees outside, because otherwise our planet would be aflame. Like, let's just say literally for fun. Around people like those, I like to use literally in a needlessly literal context. Like, I ordered a pizza and literally ate it. Literally. Dude, I paid the waitress and I gave her 15% tip because I think that's, you know, pretty reasonable to do. Literally. I literally tipped her 15%. Wow. Literally. Isn't that awesome? I said I'd do a daily tonight, and I literally did. But this, the general move that is known as the Rain move, the one that allowed him to win the OSL over Dong Regu in compelling fashion, is this style push low on Colossus, generally with a decent amount of Zealots. There's a little bit more here, and not as many Stalkers. So we're seeing that compositionally at the front, it's not looking as rainy. Just the low amount of Colossus is part rainy. But here's the big one. Speed, charge, and Warp Prism. Only one Robo facility, emphasizing the gateway units. And the goal here is to shove at the front when there's a really entrenched defense, either infestors that have to be in a position or spine crawlers that have to be in a position, and BAM! Hits the back with speed Zealots. It's a great way to kill off this expansion. Applying pressure from this side. Units here protect a Warp Prism movement along the south side, because we're literally in the way. Literally. We're in the way, literally. So here's this push. This is what I call like a really entrenched defense, because it's kind of like a trench. Like the spine crawlers are immobile, the swarm hosts are immobile. To defend this position, the Zerg has to just sit here. Cannot move anywhere else. With something like a Ling Muta army, you can move away and bounce back and forth and all that, and all this, that, and the other. We see some nice pushing. Where is that? Please endure ping. Where is it? I'm gonna find it. Found it. Oh my god, look at how static and not moving that is. How embarrassing. Another technique that Rain uses in his PvZ is moving the fucking Warp Prism. Ooh! Yeah, you should probably get out there with the Warp Prism because it's only useful during an attack. Now that the attack is actually moving down this way, it's a sensible maneuver because, again, he's entrenched here. So we're not worried about this lifting up and blasting somewhere else. Except maybe to down here. Now that we're heading down here, it doesn't make sense for the Warp Prism to go here. We can instead go up and right. And expand going down. Very smart technique. Given how, oh, so immobile he is. Oh, what an immobile fool. In this position, I'd be like, I did it. I won the game. I mean, I'm a little bit embarrassed that this Warp Prism is here. It's doing nothing. Getting it out and dealing the hurts. It's going to be super strong. I also like this transition. Continuing to apply a little pressure. We always have the opportunity to pull back because we have multiple retreat paths. We also have the recall path. Just trying to cut down on numbers. Almost certainly Hero is not going to be able to bust down the front. But this final little transition, getting out all these Stargates, a good opportunity to retreat all the way back home and begin going carriers and or Void Rays. So we just boink. Great! Viad Rays. The slower and bulkier an army is, the more important it is to do these Warp Prism drops, and the more strong they become. So if there's like a Colossus Stalker Void Ray force, excellent, excellent, excellent place to use the Warp Prism. If you're going for one of those faster, more ninjutsu style, like heavy Zealot Archon with low Colossus count, which is, again, becoming really, really popular, almost probably about 40-60 between the Zealot emphasizing players and the sort of standard Colossus Stalker emphasizing players. In that circumstance, the Warp Prism drops need to be much smaller. Much, 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 much smaller. Because you imagine the way that a normal Stalker Colossus ball fights. It fights by throwing down force fields and getting huge clumps of units at good engagement angles. So 5 or 6 Zealots in the base of a Zerg doesn't really affect the force fielding. It doesn't really affect the functionality. But if you have an army that's 20 Zealots, that's so much stronger than 12 Zealots with 8 being warped into the guy's base. I have seen countless Protosses, and even been one of those countless Protosses, that's gone a little too overeager with the warp in, and then my Zealot Archon army just gets crushed. Because again, Zealot Archon wants to get in there. It's not built around force fields plus the Colossus range to cut stuff down. So, Warp Prisming, I think, is much, or actually critical to not do nearly as much if you're a Zealot Archon. But Hero ain't doing that. He ain't. So in this sort of position, I think it's this is a Zerg player who's locked himself down pretty tight. I think this is an ideal circumstance to, well, certainly to take an expansion, but I think this is a really good position to begin doing applying some direct pressure to the front, because Zerg shouldn't have a ton of money at this point in the game. He's got some awkward defenses that he has to do down at this bottom side and up at this top side. And we can easily secure this base just with like 4 cannons or something. This is a little bit more of your cutesy aggression force. Until that Void Ray and Colossus count gets really, really high, it just doesn't have nearly as much strength. So in other words, he's gonna be passive for a little bit of time. Which is fine. Nothing wrong with being passive. Zealot warpins with the force field. All the damage. And this is great. And this should mark the time to move out. Yeah, this is exactly the way that this should look. These sorts of cute moves by Hero, cutting up and over to pick off these bases. Super excellent. Really tough to break a Zerg that has a ton of swarm hosts, but I mean, 13 Swarm Hosts kind of needs to start bringing the noise. So I think everyone's sort of seeing what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people talk about it in the chat. The money for Zerg is so freaking high. There's a number of ways to combat this, in a general sense. Generally, Zergs do a wide variety of drone counts, anywhere from around 60 to 100. Sometimes even a little more than 100. Right now, so we have 100 droney Zerg. As a general note, it's much easier to catch up in gas than it is to catch up in minerals. Because you only need 6 dudes mining gas at a base to have it fully gas saturated. Whereas you need 24 workers to make it fully mineral saturated. So, some of the best techniques are to army compositions that are very good versus mineral-based units. So, simple example. If you are going for Zealots and Archons, what inevitably ends up happening is that the Zerg runs out broken gas. He'll be down at 0 gas if you're doing a lot of engagements, but then he'll have like 4,000 minerals. But it's useless for him to spend that minerals on Zerglings, just due to the fact that, I mean, what use is he really going to get out of building Zerglings versus Zealot Archon? So in these sorts of situations where if I'm Protoss and I'm even, or like actually in this case, if I'm Protoss and I'm up on bases, I'm hero and I'm starting to like get this additional base, I will start skewing my composition to things that are better against mineral units. Void Rays, not good against mineral units. Not good versus Zerglings. Hydras, they're so-so against. Roaches, excellent against. So, against that whole thing, it's kind of like, Zealot Archon, really good against both laying Roach and Hydra. Roach and Hydra only requires a little teensy bit of support to make it just really devastatingly good. So, yeah, so then, you know, continued attacks to force Zerg to like, oh my god, I lost all 13 Swarm Hosts, let me replenish. Loses half his gas. Loses some of the Corruptors, replenishes with gas, and then has 4,000 minerals left over against this sort of composition. Really, really cool. Now this sort of stuff I mean, our Zergy buddy is going to be really high on minerals. So we've just done mineral damage. We've done some gas damage, but primarily we've killed off a mineral structure. We're killing off mineral things. We're hurting him in the mineral department. We want to be hurting him in the gas department, so that way he has his mineral stuffs left over. And I guess it's reasonable to say, well, I want to get up my death army of Void Rays. But I'm kind of the opinion that this is what... this is where Hero started to slowly get himself in a little bit of trouble. So every problem from dropping, Hero, our Zerg buddy, is solving via minerals, via all these expansions. These sorts of maneuvers by Hero is another way of saying, I don't care about my own minerals, I want to have like a huge, brutal gas army. That's my big goal. But again, I just really like, if a Zerg's down on bases like this, just being hyper-aggressive. Because right now, Hero's really being passive. He's starting to incorporate Tempests into this mix. Again, I think a reasonable choice to get the Tempest. Tempests are a great unit. But now here's the big goal for Protoss. Never let Zerg get this base or this base. The one that Zerg is particularly dangerous to permit to get is this one. This one does two things for Zerg. It's a base, but also positionally, it's one additional choke on this side, and it blocks our bottom right expansion. So this, if you actually look on the mini-map, protects this bottom right. Whereas if we go up here, for Zerg, sure, we get the additional base, but we have one attack path, wow, two attack paths that we have to protect, and we have this third one down on the south side. So the bottom expansion for Zerg is really critical, the top expansion for Protoss is really critical. So, ladies and gentlemen, hyper-modern Zerg versus Protoss. We saw Root Cats showcasing this style very similarly. Cats incorporate a couple Vipers in there. We'll see our Zerg player begin incorporating some Vipers as well, but this is just so brutal. Corruptor Swarm Host. Just straight up. This is so stupidly strong. In fact, in this lost tab, Protoss behind a little bit. I never know whether to describe this as ahead or behind. I say that Protoss is behind in units lost because behind generally implies badness. So Tempests kind of have this infinite utility. Can constantly siege. And I think that this is like an okay way to play. I think that this is like fine. This is all good in the hood. I think that this is a lot more what I'm starting to be like, oh yeah, about. We can recall actually away at any point in time with the Void Rays. Yeah, just hitting him in all sorts of places at once, because you can recall, man. So this is where, like, finally, I mean, with the Vipers have actually already killed off the Tempest here. With this sort of move-in, I was like, oh yeah, go Hero, so awesome. Finally starting to do these move-ins, and then just recalls back home. That's perfect. Can do plenty of that sort of stuff. Could even have had a Warp Prism heading down to this side. Be warping in tons of Zealots to kill off these bases. But I actually think Heroes waited just a little bit too long, and I think the culprit is this very passive transition up to Void Rays. I'm honestly not the biggest advocate of dis Void Rayage. So actually, yeah, this is perfect. I'll stop here for a break. I'm going to come back in about 3 minutes, and I hope you don't mind if I run some advertisements while I rock out to some music and go get myself some water during that time. But in the end, we're going to wrap up and see what this really cool position that Heroes got himself into. All this attacking and aggression at the start, all this cool aggression in the mid-game, opened up this big opportunity for Hero. But this is a very hotsy sort of way for Zerg to play. Heavy Swarm Host, heavy Corruptor, and Viper. Really only one Wings Liberty unit in there. Really neat mix. So when we return, we'll watch this game play out to end, take questions, and then leave. Everyone look at the awesome sloth. Yes! Alright, let's go to a break.